In the frozen, mountainous land of Skyrim, faith feels as old as the stone it's carved into. Shrines stand on hilltops, blessings are whispered before battle, and temples ring with the echoes of ancient prayers. Yet behind this air of devotion lies one of the most complicated, fractured systems of belief in all the Elder Scrolls: the worship of the Nine Divines. Once the unifying faith of the Empire of Tamriel, the Nine Divines represented divine order, civilization, and the bond between gods and men and women and children. But in Skyrim, their worship has become a symbol of tension, hypocrisy, and loss. The Temple of the Divines in Solitude stands as the last great monument to this faith, a marble shrine to unity in a province on the brink of war. Yet even there, among the candles and the priests, the cracks show. This is the confusing case of the Nine Divines, gods once revered, now argued over, forgotten, and defied. Their names invoked as symbols in a struggle for the soul of Tamriel. To understand why the Nine Divines are so confusing, one must begin with their origin. Before the Nine, there were the Eight Divines, 8 Aedra or ancestors, beings of creation who gave part of themselves to form the mortal world. The 8 were revered across Cyrodiil and beyond, forming the spiritual foundation of the early Cyrodiilic Empire. Then came Tiber Septim, the mortal who conquered Tamriel and ascended to godhood. After his death, he was worshipped as Talos, the ninth divine, the god of man. With his addition, the 8 became 9, and the Empire's religion became not just divine truth, but imperial policy. That single change, elevating a man to godhood, would eventually split the continent, topple empires, and cast doubt on the heavens themselves. The worship of Talos is both the crown jewel and the curse of the Nine Divines. To the Nords of Skyrim, Talos is their hero, born as Tiber Septim, a Nord who united Tamriel through strength and vision. His divinity affirms the power of men over elves, and the right of humanity to shape its own destiny. To the Thalmor, the ruling power of the Aldmeri Dominion, Talos is a blasphemy, a mortal who never should have joined the ranks of the gods. His worship, they claim, is heresy, and it offends the very balance of the cosmos. When the White Gold Concordat was signed after the Great War between the Empire and the Dominion, the worship of Talos was banned across imperial lands. And that is where the confusion begins. The Empire still claims to serve the Nine, yet it publicly denies one of them. Skyrim still prays to Talos, yet the Thalmor hunt those who speak his name. The faith that once unified an empire now divides it. How can there be 9 divines if one is actually forbidden? How can the gods represent truth when their number depends on politics? If there is one place where the contradictions of the 9 divines are most visible, it is the Temple of the Divines in Solitude. Built in the imperial style, its stone walls and golden windows reflect the grandeur of Cyrodiil, more than the rough austerity of Skyrim. Inside, 9 altars line the hall, one for each divine, but there is a subtle unspoken truth. Not all of them are equally honoured. The priests who serve there carefully avoid mention of Talos in public. His shrine still stands, but visitors often notice a silence around it, a hush as though his presence is both sacred and dangerous. The temple tries to present unity, but in doing so, it becomes a museum of contradictions. Imperials pray to the 8, Nords whisper to the 9th, pilgrims come to seek blessings yet leave with more questions than answers. Even in this most sacred place, the divines feel divided. The temple's beauty cannot hide the fractures of faith running beneath its foundations. In Skyrim, religion is never just religion. It is power, propaganda, and identity. For the Empire, the 9 divines represent order, a pantheon that legitimizes imperial rule. Worshipping them means acknowledging the Empire's divine mandate to govern Tamriel. For the Stormcloaks, the followers of Ulfric Stormcloak, faith in Talos is rebellion. To kneel before Talos is to reject the Dominion's authority and declare that men, not elves, shape destiny. For the Thalmor, suppressing Talos worship is not just politics, it is metaphysical warfare. They believe his divinity threatens the balance between the mortal and the divine realms, and they use his ban as a tool to weaken human unity. In this tangled web, the 9 divines are no longer gods, they are symbols. A shrine of Akatosh becomes a monument to imperial order, a statue of Talos becomes a banner of rebellion, a sermon becomes an act of treason. No wonder the faith feels so confusing. Every divine means something different depending on who's speaking. Perhaps the most unsettling truth about the 9 divines is their silence. Throughout the Elder Scrolls series, the gods rarely intervene directly. Miracles are few, prophecies cryptic, and divine guidance unreliable. The priests preach with conviction, but even they seem unsure whether their prayers are heard. In Skyrim, this uncertainty feels sharper. The world is collapsing, dragons have returned, and civil war rages, yet the divines remain quiet. The player may receive blessings or visions, but these are subtle, symbolic acts, not direct answers. When Talos speaks through dreams or whispers, it is always through interpretation and never clarity. This silence fuels both devotion and doubt. Some take it as proof of the gods' wisdom, that they trust mortals to find their own way. Others see it as abandonment, evidence that the heavens have turned their backs on Tamriel. The 9 are worshipped everywhere but felt nowhere. What makes the 9 divines so confusing is that their identities are not fixed. Across Tamriel, the same gods appear under different names and aspects. Akatosh is called Uriel by the High Elves. Kynareth is Kynareth to the Nords, but Kyn in ancient Nordic faith. Mara is worshipped as both a nurturing mother and a goddess of love. The borders between gods blur as cultures mix, creating a pantheon that feels both unified and fragmented. Even Talos, whose divinity is contested, may represent more than one being. A merging of Tibus Septim, this syncretism makes the divines both universal and unknowable. They are reflections of the people who worship them, changing shape to fit each era's belief. The question then is not who are the 9 divines, but what do they mean now? And in Skyrim, that answer depends entirely on who you ask. So what does the case of the 9 divines reveal about Skyrim, and about Tamriel itself? It shows a world where faith is as mutable as history, where gods can rise and fall like empires. It shows that religion in the Elder Scrolls is never just about worship, it is about power, memory, and meaning. The 9 divines are confusing because they are human. They are shaped by the people who believe in them, redefined by war and rewritten by politics. Their contradictions mirror our own, the need for certainty in a world built on mystery. Perhaps that is the greatest truth. The gods are not fixed. They are living symbols of change. And in that way, confusion is not a flaw. It is faith itself. In the quiet halls of the Temple of the Divines, the candles flicker against stone walls. Pilgrims come and go, each whispering prayers in their own language, to their own versions of the truth. At the far end stands the altar of Talos. Sometimes a priest dares to dust it, sometimes not. Yet always someone leaves a coin there, even though it's gone. Small, silent defiance against the decree of gods and men. The 9 divines endure not because they are clear or perfect, but because people keep believing, even when they no longer understand why. And maybe that is the most divine mystery of all.